Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Oh my gosh. It's so wonderful to see you all. I just repeat myself every time we do this, but I love these gatherings. It's such an incredible way to come together and share in this wonderful, heart opening, transformational education. Welcome to this evening's worldwide community gathering. What is spiritual psychology and why now? Two excellent questions. And if you are grads, welcome, and how fun that we get to dive into this again. And if you are newcomers, welcome. And we are so excited to explore this topic with you tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to my beloved teachers, Drs. Ron and Mary Holnick.
Beautiful, Eliza. Well, welcome, everyone. We're just so delighted to be here with you. And we're going to begin with a centering. Ron will lead the centering. After the centering, we'll do a chant called Anai Q. Anai is a tone that has resonance with empathy of the heart. So it can bring us into the heart energy. And Hu, Hu, is an ancient name for God. And following 3 Anai Hus, then we will do a 5-minute peace meditation.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. Shall we begin?
Yes.
All right. So let's all take in a nice deep breath. Nothing like starting with a nice deep breath. We'll go into a quiet place inside. Lord God of all creation, we ask that this time we will be sharing and everyone here attending this event now be filled, surrounded, and enveloped in the living love that is the essence of each of us. We ask that only that which is for the highest good of all concerned be brought forward this evening, and that any negativity that might be present, that it just be lifted and taken up into the highest realms of light and sound where it is dispersed. And we are so grateful for this opportunity. So be it.
All right. So let's move into our 5-minute peace meditation. And I invite you to bring your awareness to your heart, to breathe in a full, deep breath. And there's a beautiful ancient meditation called the Prayer of the Heart that was brought forward by the Desert Fathers. And it's a very simple practice. As you breathe in, feel the coolness of the breath in your nostrils, in your mouth, in your throat. And breathe it fully into your windpipe and then into your heart, into the warmth of your heart. And experience that contrast. Inhale
As you breathe in,
beautiful,
coolness
cool
of the
breath,
breath in your nostrils,
filling your mouth,
your mouth,
your nostrils, your throat, and your windpipe, and just breathing that breath into the warmth of the hearth of the heart. And allow that breath and that warmth to radiate throughout not only your heart, but your entire body, expanding to fill your chest, expanding beyond that into every cell in your body, all of your organs and tissues. And this luminous light not only brings warmth and love, but it brings a cleansing and a clearing, a lifting of any dis-ease or imbalance, of any negativity, disturbance, any tension, worry, concern, or anxiety. You can just place all of those into this luminous light. Just breathe them out. Breathe out the tension and the worry, the concern, the dis-ease and imbalance. And as you breathe in that light of living love, the light of the Holy Spirit. And once again, feel the coolness of your breath moving through you down into the warmth of the heart. And there, that breath of a spirit combines with the love that is your essential nature, and it expands. And as we gather here this evening, what a beautiful opportunity for us to extend this blessing of warmth and of love, of compassion, of loving kindness to everyone gathered here, to all those who are part of the gathering now or will be joining us as the evening unfolds, and those who will listen to the recording after the evening. Know that all of you are enfolded and embraced in this light of luminous living love. And that we as a gathering have the power of love, not only within us, but collectively. And if we can extend this blessing of peace and love to all humanity, all around the planet. And we ask that this blessing of loving and peace be anchored with each being, within each consciousness, in accordance with their ability to receive and hold this. And that for all who are touched by the light, that the seeds of divine love, of peace, and the presence of peace are planted, are anchored within each one of us. We all are the presence of love, and ours is a path of awakening, of remembering, of coming into the full remembrance of the love that we are, and that we are messengers of love and bringers of peace, peacemakers. So be it. Well, we're just off the SCL1 seventh weekend. It was a newly designed weekend on purpose. And oh my goodness, it was just so glorious.
At soul-centered living, for those who aren't
Yes,
aware of the
Yes.
terminology.
the Soul-Centered Living One class. And what a joy, because not only are the students from across this country, but also from around the world. And we have students from 20 different countries participating. And it is just such a blessing and joy to be gathered together in that way, doing the work together. And now we're preparing for the Consciousness, Radiant Health, and Healing 7th Chakra Weekend, which will begin on Saturday. What a year this has been, just of moving fully into the Zoom format, the classes online, and just experiencing that love knows no barriers or boundaries, that the transmission is present and powerful in the Zoom classroom, perhaps even more powerful if that's possible than when we gathered in person. So October is one of our favorite times of the year. We met in October in 1974.
Oh my God, 1970.
In New Mexico. And I had just moved there about a month before I had accepted a position at the university and was going to be teaching courses in the Department of Counseling and Educational Psychology. And the classes had begun, and most of my classes were in the evening or late afternoon. And one evening, a man came to my classroom door, and he introduced himself, and my name was Mary Prescott at that time.
What?
And he introduced himself, and he said, "Dr. Prescott, I would like to observe your class this evening." And when I saw him,
because I was accepted into the program, and so you'll be one of my professors.
and when he said that he wanted to observe the class, I just became very flustered, and my response was not really that gracious. I said to him, "Well, why would you want to do that?" And he responded, explaining himself again. And I by then regained my composure, and I said, "Well, of course, have a seat in the back." And so that was our meeting. And it was so amazing because following that, I had not seen Ron before. But somehow I knew that he was going to be very important in my life. And here we are so many years later. And oh my gosh, was that inner knowing? That was very accurate inner knowing. So
I thought that was an odd question to be asking me when I had just explained it. But hey.
Well, when you meet destiny, sometimes it can be unsettling. I think that's what I would say about that. And
then the program was 3 years long. And so I had 3 years to get to know my teacher. And I knew early on that she had more than what I would expect in a psychology professor, but I didn't know, how much or what it might come to. And so on my home assignments, I would slide in little gems to see how she would respond. And she always responded in a way that was in line with what my interests were at the time, which is what they are now. And then one thing led to another, and so we had a good time to get to know each other for 3 years, which was very good, and we really kept our appropriateness, and then at the end of that time, what they did was they made me an offer to join the faculty as a visiting assistant professor, and I thought that was great, and so I said yes. And as you can imagine, the only vacant office that they could offer me was the office right next to Mary's office. So then we became colleagues. And the rest is history.
Well, and it was so interesting because I was being groomed to become the chair of the department and eventually the dean of that college.
Yeah.
And so when it was nearing the completion of the 2 years for which Ron had been offered this visiting professorship, they made it known that they did not want him to continue on in the department where I was going to be the chairman because of all the policies having to do with nepotism and so that led to a really deep inner questioning because we got married in January of 1978. And so here we were newlyweds, and here was this big change that was being presented to us. And it was such a time of deep prayer and inquiry because I knew that my heartfelt dream really was for us to work together. And I knew that was Ron's dream as well.
You had already gotten divorced by that time.
Well, if we were married, surely I was divorced, Ron.
Yes, well,
So
I
anyway.
don't want to fill in the details.
Yes. So I resigned, much to everyone's amazement and consternation, probably including my own, actually. And we began really a year-long honeymoon, really not knowing what our direction or path forward would be. And we had met John Roger in the summer, in July of 1978. We got married in 1979.
40 years ago.
Well, a little more, yeah. So, and at that time, he told us, Ron asked him about our marrying, and he said,
Yeah, I'll tell you what was funny, because my question to him was, we're thinking about getting married, but I'm not sure that Mary is willing to devote her life to this work. and let's see, what was his statement to us? He said, your energies match very closely, and I encourage you.
well, he
And
said
that
you
was
could
all
do, he could, well,
Yeah.
he said you could do a lot of good work together.
Yeah.
And then he said, I think it's a good idea. Well, we had just met him, so we really didn't know him. And it was only later that we learned that it was very rare for
That
him
he
to
would-
say something that direct to people regarding a decision of that nature. And so one thing eventually led to another. I had a dream that we were to do the school, which at that time was called Kohinoor University, meaning Mountain of Light.
They hadn't offered any classes yet. It was all still in the planning stage.
And so we moved to California, and here we are all these years later, having breathed life into it and had the blessing of really serving all of you in the greater community for all these many years.
And I think we made a good decision.
I would say we made an amazing decision. Amazing. All right. So, well, we're here tonight. What is spiritual psychology and why now is our topic. And you have a handout that's available there if you want to take a look at it. We define spiritual psychology as the study and practice of conscious awakening. And part of what I really love is if you delve deeply into the meaning of the word psyche, you find phrases such as breath, principle of life, and soul. But if you explore the meaning of the word psychology, you find the science of mind and behavior. And somehow in the translation from that essence to practice, the most important aspect of a psyche has been lost. So we have long recognized our calling as restoring the spiritual dimension to the heart of an authentic psychological inquiry. And it is this reintegration that is the heart of a truly spiritual psychology. And we do define it as the study and practice of conscious awakening, awakening into the awareness that you are a divine, loving being, having and using a human experience for the purpose of further awakening.
And spiritual psychology includes 33 principles that provide entrance into the spiritual context and a great abundance of practices, including what we call soul-centered basic skills that support awakening into the awareness that you are this divine being having and using a human experience. For what? Well, for the purpose of awakening into your essential loving nature. And the spiritual context provides extraordinary leverage and lift for healing and for residing in the true gold of your authentic self, living a life of greater meaning, purpose, and fulfillment.
We received a letter today. It came in just totally unexpectedly. And I'll just share a little bit of it. This is from 4 people who graduated in 2002. And
isn't it interesting? It came today.
yes, and they say, it seems like yesterday we were sitting in USM's Great Hall on a Friday evening beginning our weekend classes, the class of 2002. And just like yesterday, we could feel ourselves being drawn into the spiritual warmth of you, our fellow students and staff. Thus began 2 years of inspirational classes where you created a space and an opportunity for exponential growth. What life-changing experiences occurred during those sessions. Many dreams were set free by creating an empowering environment for each of us to thrive. In our second year, we were asked to form into groups of 4. We were also asked to name our group. We named our group the 4 Stars, and I won't read their names, but they had nicknames. One was the Child Star, one the Starlet, another Bright Star, and the 4th was Rock Star. Can you imagine? That was 19 years ago. Our team meetings were dynamic from the beginning, and we are still meeting using the same USM format. We know that during this time, we can be vulnerable in comfort and safety. We cry and laugh, show anger and joy, while being totally embraced in our being. And on September 26, 2021, we met in a deeply vulnerable, transformative, sacred space where sharing was cogent and integrated. It was like a long marriage at last blossoming and reaching each of us where we are. That moment was breathtakingly rich with strong, palpable energy residing in each of our thought-filled sharing and encouraging feedback. The tools we learned while students came full circle that evening. We were overjoyed in spite of our trials and tribulations. We had reached a powerful level of sharing that filled our souls to overflowing. What a journey. And thank you for all that you do.
So we're sharing this with you in our little introduction because we're aware that there are a significant number of you who are brand new to this work. So we wanted to just give you a little context here so that you get a sense of what the roots of this thing is all about.
So, well, let's go back to the handout if we can now and just take a look. We included 3 sentence stems. They're stem sentences. And stem sentences are a wonderful tool. And very often we encourage people to write a number of responses to a stem sentence and to just uncensor, to respond with the very first thing that comes to your awareness, because very often in so doing, it's revelational. So the first stem here that you can consider is the challenging situation I would like to use as an opportunity for healing and awakening is just write down the very first thing that
Whatever
comes up.
comes.
Whatever comes up for you. Challenging situation I would like to use as an opportunity for healing and awakening. Could be a situation having to do with a relationship, with your health, with your path of service in the world, your work. There are a myriad of things that it could be. And the second stem, when I see myself and others as divine beings having and using a human experience. When I see myself and others as divine beings having and using a human experience, just write whatever comes present for you, whatever comes up. And the third stem, when I let go of judging myself and am kinder, gentler, and more compassionate with myself. When I let go of judging myself and am kinder, gentler, and more compassionate with myself. Just again, write whatever is present for you in response to that stem.
And then there's a quote by Mary and I. If you want to live a life of peace, purpose, and meaningful contribution, it's essential to do the inner work necessary to free yourself from the chronic upset of your ego. Relatively few people know and practice what this inner work is and how to do it. Learning and doing this inner and outer work in consciousness is what spiritual psychology at USM is all about. At this time, given the level of the oppositional energies present on the planet, this work is essential for the education and the evolution of humanity. This is not just an unpurposeful time that we're all living in.
It's an incredible time, and just the energy on the planet, while it's very challenging, there's also an elevated spiritual energy that is present. And part of what is so beautiful is that during the classes, the students are able to move into the spiritual context, move into the awareness of themselves and their classmates as divine beings, having and using a human experience, and to really let go of the barriers that block them from the awareness of the love that we are. And what we do want to add something.
If you think about it, the more challenging the time that we live in, the greater level of opportunity that's present. I mean, if you want to go and really, let's say you wanted to enhance the quality of courage, well, you're probably not going to get much practice on that working at the post office and doing the work that you do there. But you might enroll in the military and go off to war, where you'll have a lot of opportunity to practice courage. So you might think of, we're in a time of war right now. And so these skills and the skills and what this is all about was never more relevant than it is today. It's no accident that we're at this place in the evolution of consciousness. So we just share that as basic information. It's good to know that there's a real essence behind all of this and a reason. It's not just something that's thrown together.
when we began the first year this year, and this was, we'd had international students throughout the years that had traveled to Santa Monica to be a part of the classes there. But we had never had so many of them from different locations in the classroom. And part of what we became aware of very, very quickly is that this year's first year class is a very elevated group of individuals who come together to do this work at this time. And it's an incredible time to do the work, because from our point of view, there is just such opportunity for elevation. And I know I found myself saying in the last first year class weekend, after we had done one of the processes, I just said to the students, be prepared for sudden upward moves in consciousness. And it surely is a time for that. So we're going to open it up for some question and answer. We're going to ask that you start from your name. We'd love to hear from you if you're a grad or current student. And of course, we would love to hear from those of you that are new to USM. All are welcome here, and we just enjoy hearing from all of you. We ask that you please go to the heart of what it is that you want to share, because there are a lot of people here this evening, and we'd love to hear from as many people as we can. So, Regina, we'll start with you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I knew that you would take me, and I was so afraid. And when you talked about courage, I was thinking, this is the moment you just told me on courage. So I wanted to share something with you that I guess is in line with the sentences that you gave us here. And my husband is from Afghanistan, as you know, as you maybe remember, and we're 36 years married. And the school has helped us a lot to go through lots of ups and downs, but it's been, for the most part, a match made in heaven, I would say. So, sorry. So the situation in Afghanistan is really bad right now. And have always had a very strong affinity. And when my husband and I met, it was as if we had made a pact in our past life to meet again at a train station in a big town in a new year. And it was Los Angeles in January. And we met at Union Station. And my husband asked me pretty much a week later if I want to marry him, and kind of derailed my life completely, because I never wanted to be here. I was very happy living in Vienna, Austria, where I'm from. I studied psychology, but it had to do with the fact that I had prayed for years to meet the right match. And I was 7 years with a beautiful, wonderful person who was still a very good friend of both of us. So anyways, that's the preface to my story. So I always felt like I had a very strong resonance with this culture and with these people, as if I would see their reality and their culture from their point of view and not from the outsiders, an emic perspective, which was very difficult for me because my parents were not ready, of course. My father was very traditional, but they were wonderful as far as they can be wonderful. And we decided to live in the United States, to live in a neutral ground. Mission accomplished. Our boys are big, everything wonderful. So every time something happens in Afghanistan, like 9/11, I went to our school here, to the local school, and I made a presentation about the culture of Afghanistan, because it was very painful to me to see there was an automatic accusation going out to a group of people who had suffered already since 1979 a terrible fate. And this is now 40 years. These are 3 or more generations that have grown I think in the world is one of the most mentally health challenged group at all, because everybody who has money and possibility is out. The people that are left are the unfortunate ones. So now we're looking at a situation 20 years later again, after I did my little presentation here in the public school with my husband and my kids. We brought pomegranates and music, and we were dancing, and we were brought posters and clothes and jewelry and everything, just to show people where this is on the map. And it's not in Africa, because it is Afghanistan, it's somewhere else. And a lot of people were very surprised about the information we gave. So 20 years later now, there is an enormous danger of a humanitarian catastrophe with hunger and just, poverty. Kabul is about 1,000 meters high, so they will have snow and a very long winter. And the people that are fortunate enough to have people out in the world, like my husband's family, most of them are in Europe, but whoever's left, his sisters, we take care of. That's not a problem. I mean, it is a problem because you can only send very little money, and they're afraid. And his cousin was a female judge that was blown up in a car, and another cousin was a lawyer and was shot in front of his kids. So no, it's not easy, but they have extended families, and 80% are doing well. So my husband and I feel very uncomfortable. We can't do anything because right now everything is stalled. So we have decided once again to do a cultural fundraiser. So I always felt that when people are losing everything, they lose their dignity in the eyes of those who give. And it has always bothered me when I was in Catholic school that I had associated Ethiopian people always with dry ground, poverty, and just a way that they would not want me to perceive them. And it hurts me to see that Afghan people are always featured in these rags and in this destituteness. And I find it important to give people the dignity of a face in their culture again, particularly because right now the culture has been erased or tried to be erased. And they love music, and they love bright colors, and they love, fragrant foods. So we're doing a fundraiser. We started a fundraiser, and we're feeding people in our house and give them a little bit of an immersion into Afghan culture. And we've been working already since days. We're having a hand-hammered pot outside over fire, and we're polishing our samovars for a tea station. My husband plays sitar. We're not going to dance or anything like that because it's not a jolly occasion. But we would like people to have a little immersion into a little of the culture and the beauty of it. And we encourage them to give money that we want to send to the United Nations Humanitarian Rescue Commission, because that's a vetted organization, to take care of those unfortunate souls who are going to meet a very long winter. And so I guess I'm saying all this, first of all, because I want to challenge myself in saying something, because it's not easy for me to be up in front of people, but also because I would like to encourage whoever wants to either come and eat something with us, if you want. We still have about 20 places open. We're cooking like crazy, and with a lot of joy, I have to say, and to maybe support our fundraiser. My son put a page up, Matthias Farang, GoFundMe.
Virginia, so did you get to the question? What is it that you are?
I wanted to make sure that if we can all together send some light to Afghanistan, because we feel so helpless as just individuals against this huge, obviously karmic challenge that these people experience. And it would make a difference to me to understand that we can all have the power of our soulful love being sent into that direction with light. And to, if I may, put our GoFundMe page up, and also extend an invitation if anybody wants to come and celebrate culture with us on Saturday.
Well, we can certainly center ourselves in this moment and send a blessing of light to the people of Afghanistan, to the country of Afghanistan, the land and the region, asking that whatever karma, negativity, imbalance, disturbance, dis-ease, mistrust that is present, that can be lifted and cleared, that be done under grace in accordance with the highest good of all concerned.
And
You know,
go ahead.
I think what you're bringing forward is really a powerful example of one situation and circumstance on this planet at this time. And there are numerous others that I think deeply challenge us because of what we see of the inhumanity, because of the levels of suffering, because of the very difficult spiritual curriculums that we see people living with and through. And part of what is, I think, also very, very difficult in it is that there's so much we don't know and don't really have awareness of. And so in a sense, what you said about the power of sending light, of sending unconditional loving to a region, and I would never underestimate the power of that.
And in addition to what Mary is sharing, we may as well, just put it out right now in the new class. The other thing that we do not want to do, and this may sound very strange, is to judge this situation and make it wrong. And the reason that we don't want to do that is because when we do that, we presume that we know what's best for those people, and that it's just the way that we think about that kind of thing all the time. But from a spiritual perspective, everybody is enrolled in the Earth School, everybody. And so all of those people are there because it's part of their spiritual curriculum in this lifetime. Now, that doesn't mean that that absolves us from the responsibility of offering kindness, of offering financial support, and anything else that we might want to do. It's a challenging situation. But if we judge the situation and make it wrong, we are actually adding to the sum total of negativity that's there. And this is probably one of the, if not the most difficult and challenging things for people to understand about spiritual reality. There's nothing happening by chance. So I think what you're doing is just fabulous, and just give us all the information. And I don't know that we'll come for dinner, but you never know.
It's going to be fabulous, 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 fabulous. We cook so good together.
But you understand what I'm saying here.
Yes, of course. And it's so difficult because the situation, of course, calls forth in everyone avoidance, because it's difficult to watch what's going on, and because the humanitarian situation is so appalling for so many innocent beings there. And
let me stop you again. When you say innocent beings, you're assuming that those people haven't chosen to be there at this time, because there's a learning opportunity that may be based on past experiences in that same place where they were the oppressors.
oh, sure, absolutely.
So we just have to be careful, because the best thing that we can do is to send light and loving and not judge it. Judging is the worst thing that we can do, because it just adds to the sum total of the negativity that is going on there. So I just wanted to bring that forward, because that's a basic understanding that we're all doing in this work. And this time on this planet, it's very, very, very important, because we need an army of people who send love to Afghanistan and not judgment.
And of course, I know all it, and it's good to be reminded. It's interesting because it sounded like it sounds like a silly dream, but from the moment on that that all of this started, I told my husband I would like to have a Taliban rehabilitation center. And it was always my thought that these men who look so evil are innocent children that have been changed with trauma and so on. And I always see, I have compassion with these dangerous looking faces, you know, because I know what's in them. My sons are in these kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yet everyone is still a divine being.
Yeah.
Having
Using
a human experience, regardless of their expression or their appearance. And I really hear you. And I acknowledge you for the compassion within you and the level of love and caring. And, you know, I just encourage you, even though manifesting a center of that sort at this time in physical world reality may not be imminent,
They may not be ready for it.
I would also say, as we have been saying, the power of sending the light is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And sending it unconditionally, sending it for the highest good of all concerned is so important, because we don't really know what's being worked out there.
We don't know the spiritual
Curriculum of everyone. Yeah. Yeah. But I thank you so much. And I was so excited when you said everything you said, Ron, and you talked about courage, and I was thinking, I gotta raise my hand, and this is my challenge today. And I'm so glad that I could talk to you, and so encouraging. And I thank you for these gatherings. They're so precious, and how you remind us always of all the things that we do know, and yet we always need to hear it again, and need to hear it from this deep soulful place from which you live it. It means so much. So your school has been really the thing that's made my life. It is the thing that I'm next to my spiritual path that I'm on since I'm very young. These are the two things that I'm most grateful for, that are priceless into eternity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your sharing, Regina. Thank you.
And nobody ever said, nobody ever promised the Earth School was going to be easy. But you know what? In a very real way, the more difficult it is, the more opportunity for learning and growing.
Amen.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for calling on me. Thank you so much.
Yes. Reina.
You hear me okay? Hi.
Yes.
Did you call on Reina?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Right.
So I'll be succinct in how I express what some of the.
Hang on a second. We're having a little challenge getting you.
There we are.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Now we're seeing you, Reina. Please.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. I'm class of 2009.
Wow.
I know that there's certain soul agreements, and it's not about, like you mentioned, not judging, and the challenge that I'm being faced with is both of my parents are 87, and my father has dementia, and he's loving and kind, and I see the vibrancy of his spirit regardless of his mind, the experience of dementia that he's going through. And I do know their history, so I understand. I come from a sense of understanding why, when they went through war on Guam, that there may be some past trauma and suppressed emotions. The challenge I'm having is my mom. They're both 87, and my mom
Wow.
my mom. My mom has been emotionally. She calls my father names, And I know she has a lot of pent up anger on a past situation ages ago. They've been married 66 years, and she kind of does it in secret. And so as a child, it's like respecting their marriage, respecting their whatever soul agreement they have, and yet also being setting boundaries if my father's in harm's way. If there's emotional abuse and the possibility of even my father's afraid of her, of her hitting him in the middle of the night. So they're 87. So and I live many years, many thousands of miles away from them, but I do have brothers and sisters with them. And so where is there that setting the boundary and being able to set those guidelines of what is not acceptable behavior, not out of judgment, but out of safety?
Oh.
And I come from a culture where you don't, very seldom there aren't many local islanders that put their family in facilities. They don't have the facilities on Guam for that. It's always the family that takes care of their parents in return for the parents taking care of the children growing up. And so that's where the challenge comes, is like I continue to send light and pray for my father's safety, and my mother, the softening of her heart and the kindness and the healing of her heart, of any unforgiveness of the past. And I know through her personality ego, not her soul, because I know her soul is, our souls are loving beings. But in my many years of experiencing my mom, she doesn't come from a personality of forgiveness or soft kindness.
Yeah.
And I got to learn, I know my gift in that, what I grew out of that is how to mother myself and how to be nurturing and to work through some stuff. But so I'm not really sure how to address this other than I pray with them over the phone. And I've continued to invite my brothers and sisters to hold the high watch and the high vision of what's possible, rather than focusing on the problem, to hold the possibility. And I do affirmations with my mom. And she's at that place where she wants to get off the phone when I'm getting too much into prayer. So I could use any assistance on how to address this. And again, she's not in empathy to her, and understanding, they're inseparable. They have been inseparable for 66 years of marriage. And so we've attempted to put them in separate rooms just so that my mom they can both get good sleep. And none of this secretive behavior is happening where she's pretending she's someone else. And I don't know if that's her mind going or she's doing some emotional manipulation.
And how has that worked, separating them?
They will not separate. In fact, every time my mother would want to go away and have one of my siblings drive them to the market, my father wants to follow along. And then, so then he'll run away to my sister and say, I'm afraid of that woman. So there's all this.
Do they have any kind of services there where there are centers, or there are people who deal in that kind of thing with the elderly that you can utilize?
We do have a caregiver outside their room 24 hours a day, just in case they need assistance.
Yeah.
So there is someone in the house. If anything, there's a couple of hours that there's a lapse of time. And some of them don't want to interrupt, or they'll hear whispering, but they don't want to invade their privacy in that way.
See, I'm talking about any service organizations that work with the elderly, so that you can get some leverage on different possibilities of things that you can do. Because there are many services that one can avail oneself of, because this is not a usual thing that people would be expected to know very much about. but there are organizations and there are counseling centers or something of that nature where there would be somebody that could give you some assistance.
There is a gentleman who works with the elderly on Guam, and I know we've had Zoom calls with him and have incorporated my mom and dad. My dad is in and out, but my mom is not open to counseling. She will go there. We say it's a family, just a family coming together to to get to speak to this doctor about my father. And it's also for her benefit, but she doesn't think she has an issue or a problem. So she's not open to counseling.
This is challenging, but you already know that. I mean, if you can't get anything else to work, then have some kind of a meeting with all of the relatives who are on site, and do as much calling in as the light and praying for their highest good and all of those kinds of things, and ask for spiritual intervention, whatever is for the highest good. See, it's so challenging when we don't know the karma.
Yeah.
There's something else that you could do. Where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles. I live here in Hermosa, but my parents live on Guam. And when you speak about the soul agreement, if I was just to get a sense or guess it, even though it's limited to my perception of it, is like my dad's learning gift and soul lesson has been unconditional love.
Yes.
Because he's a romantic and he continues to be optimistic, and he's attracted someone who's quite the opposite in the personality.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Call Eliza.
Okay.
And she and I will have had a conversation, and I will have a specific recommendation for you. Okay. So Eliza, tomorrow or something, give me a holler and I'll tell you what it is.
I so appreciate that. Thank you, Ron.
You bet. And of course, all your relatives, I hope they're beaming love at the two of them.
Yes. And we have a WhatsApp chat, so I just hear a lot of the things that are going on, middle of the night, or what the nurse is saying out, But and I continue to hold the high watch of seeing them enjoying their golden years. If it's if it's for their highest and greatest good, that they're enjoying the fruits of their labor during their golden years, and it's in harmony and joy and laughter. That's the vision I would like to hold for them.
Yeah, we hear you. So call Eliza, and I don't know if I'd call it tonight.
Tomorrow.
I'll call it tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there.
And is it the same? Is Eliza to contact her? Is it the phone number of USM, or is it?
Yes, and you can reach out to her in the chat, Raina.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Thank you. How about Cher?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry for the delay. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. So lovely to meet you both. I'm very new to USM. I discovered you recently. I feel like the universe sent you my way. My question is it's relating to your course. I've been through a spiritual awakening very recently, you could say, over the last 3 to 4 years. And yeah, it just kind of happened very suddenly, and it just catapulted me into finding my authentic self, and it was like a real quantum leap for me. So I just feel super connected to myself, and I feel I know my inner calling in life. And so this has led me to discovering you, and I really am very interested in doing your course, but I'm located in Melbourne, Australia. And, I've had a look at your course and just everything you're about. It really deeply resonates with me. This is just going to probably be a very pragmatic question compared to everyone else's. It's not really a spiritual question. But for me, it's more to do with the time zone, because I understand you're catering to, working professionals. And so you have your courses over the weekends. But with the time zone in Australia, it's a very tricky, because that works out to a 4 a.m. start.
Yeah.
And look, normally I would, one could say, yeah, if you're dedicated, do that. It's fine. The only thing here in my situation is that I actually used to have chronic fatigue. That was my awakening, I guess. Well, it really was. But that's another story. So because I went through that journey now, obviously I really value my vessel and treating my body correctly, and that's going to be very difficult. I don't know that would be the best thing in terms of, doing the 4 a.m. start. So getting to the point, I just wanted to ask you if you would consider, not just for me, for others in this time zone, if there would, moving forward, perhaps just something to consider, maybe if you could cater to these different time zones in a different way. Because I just want to add that the evening classes that you run once a month, I believe, that those time zones work, or that time works. It's just the weekends, because they're full days.
Well, the answer to your question really is I don't know. I don't know, because there are many considerations regarding the timing of the offering. I would encourage you, and I do believe Eliza could put you in touch with some students in Australia who are currently in the program, so you could talk with them about their experience of that, about how they have worked with that very early start time. And believe me, we hear you. And this is live education. It's not like we want to just give you a recording and then that's your experience of it.
Yeah.
It's designed in a way so that students can be live together. We do a lot of work in 3-person processes that we call trios during the course of Saturday and Sunday. And that experiential education is incredibly powerful. In the program, you're probably aware that one of the primary, we have these 33 principles. We have a myriad, many basic skills. A lot of the trio work involves a facilitator who's learning the skill, a sharer who's sharing about themselves and their process, and then a person that is a neutral observer. And each one of them will be in a rotation in each of those 3 chairs. So the work tends to be very deep, it's very powerful, and it's cumulative over time. And there's something about the spiritual energy field that's present when we all gather and come together for the class itself. So I really hear your health consideration. And of course, we encourage you in taking care of yourself. I do encourage you to reach out to Eliza and ask if she can connect you with some of the Australian and New Zealand students.
Thank you. We've already connected with Eliza, and she has suggested that to connect me with some fellow Australians. So, yeah.
I have something else for your consideration. There's an assumption that you're making. The assumption is that because you've had this health condition previously or up till now.
Well, yeah, I have healed it now. I'm happy to say,
Well,
through
Beautiful.
emotional release work, because I'm an emotional healing practitioner now.
okay, well, there you go. And so this may very well be precisely the opportunity for you to step forward and follow what's important to you, just as an experiment, to see what will happen when you're placing yourself into an environment that is filled with light and healing energy.
Yes.
You might, the worst that will happen is that you won't like it.
I'm sure I will love it. Yeah, it's just,
For you.
yeah, I know. It's just weighing it up. I know that I will love that environment. I understand it's immersive. It's an immersive experiential course. So that completely resonates with me. But yeah, I think probably if I were to be honest with myself, there is a fear that I'm working on. Hopefully it comes up and I can process it, because there must be a subconscious fear somewhere that if I go through this, it'll ruin my circadian rhythm, and then I may get chronic fatigue again.
Well, you may, and you may not. See, why not do the thing that you really want to do and bring all the loving into the process, which is healing energy. And you might just find that any semblance of that is gone. It's not like you're having to spend $1 million or do something that you're committed to for. I mean, if you see, one of the things that we need to do more of is challenge the assumptions that we have about the way things truly are. And you may just find, the more you step into the higher levels of loving, you just step right past that illness. We've seen that so many times. I just, can't begin to tell you. But see, if you don't try it out, you're going to choose to miss out on, and that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
I just encourage you relative to your intention. Intention is so powerful. The founder of this school, John Rogers, said intention is God.
Wow.
The other thing I would echo, which Ron just said, is that the nature of assumption is very tricky, because we can assume things and create a perceptual filter based on those assumptions and beliefs that is limiting and restrictive. The nature of the soul is radiant health.
So
let me
I'm sorry. What you had done.
No. The nature of the soul is radiant health. And if your intention is to reside in that level of awareness and in the radiant health of your soul, that is incredibly powerful. In order to hold that intention, it does require that you be incredibly clear about it. Now, I suspect in the work that you've done, you've learned some tools and methods for working with some of the more subterranean material that resides in the unconscious that isn't necessarily in harmony.
That's right.
Yes, so you have learned some work with that. And we do teach some very powerful skills also for working with that material.
Thank you.
There's something else that's just coming forward, and you can tell me whether or not it's relevant. But there's something here having to do with self-sabotage. Do you know what that would be referring to?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to take up your time and tell you my life story, but I've come a very long way in the last year. I had every challenge in my life a year ago, and that was that I had chronic fatigue. I was bedridden for 2 years. I obviously couldn't work. I had to put my, career behind me. My partner left me. I have a very challenging relationship with my family, my biological family, to this day. And I had absolutely no one. So I was basically on my knees a year ago. The universe, everything crumbled. And I see now I've done a lot of work on myself, and that was my soul. I know my soul has always wanted to step into its power, into its authenticity, which is, so that was something obviously that I wanted to do for years and years. And that was my opportunity. The universe basically removed anything that was in my way, cleared the path for me. And it was so difficult. I'm sure you could all understand, being in the depths of despair, you have absolutely no one but yourself. So I had to turn inward. Mm-hmm. And this journey led me to helping myself. And this is when I discovered a healing modality, which essentially allows you to process and release repressed emotions in a rapid and sustainable way. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a somatic experience. It's going into the pain. And so I did this, and, in 3-4 sessions, I was transformed. It was just what I needed. And from there, I believe in it so much that I became a practitioner. I studied it. And so this is now what I do. Like, this is my life purpose. Like, I've discovered my essence and what I'm here for, which is to help others to find their voice and connect with their truth. And so, long story, but that has been my journey. And so I'm ready to now take it to the next level, my soul, my purpose, and being around this environment feels like home for me.
I hear you. And I really acknowledge you and the courageous work that you have done. Yeah. And I just encourage you, keep going, have those conversations, check it out.
Thank you. And just in relation, I didn't answer your question, in relation to the self-sabotage, yes, it's because it's a generational trauma, and I'm still obviously working on letting that go. I'm still,
See, this may be just the opportunity to let it go, because you'll have to face it in order to participate. I'll make you my best offer. If you try the first weekend and you don't want to continue, we'll refund your tuition.
Wow, I appreciate that. I think, it's a sign. I need to go for it. I don't quite know where it's going to take me, but I don't need to know. I know from inside of me that
you can't know before you. I mean, that would defeat the whole purpose if you.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to take the plunge and trust in spirit.
The other thing, and I suspect you've already picked up on this just through the research that you've been doing about the program, the classes really take place in a very safe and sacred space, and people let go of intergenerational patterns. In the second year of the program, we do a very systematic process over the course of 8 months, having to do with the healing of intergenerational patterns, really being able to release the ties that bind. And so you have our heartfelt invitation, support, and encouragement. And
thank you so much.
It's lovely to meet you and to speak with you.
I just wanted to ask you one very quick last thing. This is just any advice you may have, which is that on this journey that I'm on right now, my biggest challenge is that I actually currently live with my family, my biological family. And that's because I had to, build my life from the ground up because I was bedridden for 2 years. So I'm working now and, getting momentum in my life. But I'm in an environment that is actually, I don't know if you use this language at USM, but it is a toxic environment. I have a biological family that doesn't look at me, doesn't want to talk to me, doesn't want to engage with me. And I have done my best, and I do my best to always see it through the eyes of love. But you could imagine that's a very difficult environment for me. And so I do everything I can to elevate my vibration, keep it high, but I am still in this environment. And while most people would say, yes, it's easy, just move out, there's your solution. That's work in progress for me.
Yes.
So you know what I mean? It's not something that will happen in 1 minute.
Yes.
So
you're working towards it is what I hear. And I so acknowledge you. And I encourage you in what's coming forward very strongly is how important it is for you to be out of doors each day so that your energy field and your body can be refreshed by the energy of nature, and that your energy field can be cleared by the energy of nature. And it's so, in the work that you've learned to do you work with compassionate self-forgiveness?
what do you mean by that?
Well, that is one of
That's
the most,
answer.
that is one of the most important and powerful tools that we teach. It's, for example, it could be, I forgive myself for buying into the idea that I am anything less than love.
Yes, absolutely. I speak to my higher self and my inner child regularly, and I try to always, be compassionate towards myself. And
yes, but it's actually the act of compassionate self-forgiveness that is a cosmic delete button that can release these misinterpretations and misidentifications that we have made about who we are. For example, I forgive myself for judging myself as rejected. I forgive myself for judging myself as unworthy of love. I forgive myself for judging myself as discarded. And then in the work that we do, share, we follow those after the forgiveness work has gone to a level that feels complete for that moment, to follow it with the truth is statements. The truth is, I am divine. The truth is, I am worthy beyond measure. The truth is, I am the presence of love. The truth is that my value is not measured by how other people relate to me or think of me. So this gives you just a little sample of this.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Much love.
Pleasure to meet you both.
Yes, thank you
too.
so much. Lovely to share with you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
You bet.
All right, we're going to have a little pause here so that Ron and I can have a drink of water. We're going to turn this back to Eliza, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Eliza?
While you guys enjoy your glass of water, I will enjoy reveling in what we just went through. Yes, that was so beautiful. I love the cosmic delete button, Mary. It's just, compassionate self-forgiveness is such a powerful tool. And Cher, thank you for sharing with us. And I heard you say you felt like you were coming home in this community. And I will just share that when I walked through the doors of USM in 2010, I felt the same way. And this program has forever changed my life and given me just the most incredible tool bag to walk through this world with love and compassion and caring first for myself and then for others. And one of the reasons we love gathering in this way with all of you is to announce the Soul Centered Living 1 2022 program, which is officially launched the admission season. So we're going to put a link in the chat to the beautiful program page, which is just has so much gorgeous information about the program, gorgeous writing, gorgeous images, gorgeous everything. You'll see it. It just, the heart of the program leaps off the page. And we are going to put that link in the chat. And on that page is a link to register for a conversation with me if you'd like to talk about anything pertaining to the program. I love to do it. And of course, a link to register for the program if you're clear that it is your year. And we have a very special guest tonight to share a little bit about the program. She is a current Soul Center Living 1 online student, Skylar Patton. She radiates light and love with every word, and I would like to invite her to speak right now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me share my experience. It's amazing to be here. I feel honored to be a part of the USM community, the loving and support here tonight. Wow. It is beyond anything that I could have gotten from anyone's encouraging words before I started this program. It's another thing to actually feel it. And I knew that I wanted to take USM, seeing how it affected my friends, but I didn't know how much I needed USM until I actually started it, because the learning and the familiarity with my truest self that I have gained through these last couple months has been transformative. I had gotten so accustomed to the persona that I would put on and how I would act around people and how I thought I had to be and how I thought I should be. And I hadn't really taken a look at, and I did get to take a look at in these past couple months, the true authentic self inside and the little girl that was inside of me that I had really lost touch with. And she was so hidden and buried and afraid and scared and mistrustful that it was like almost like an intangible part of myself, but I knew that she was in there. And so I've been working with these tools for months to really get back in touch with that fun and goofy and playful and impulsive girl that I really am inside. And I knew that in order to do that work and to coax her out of her shell, that I needed a safe environment and a gentle environment. And I cannot believe the support and loving that exists in this USM family, both from Ron and Mary, who I think are the world's most amazing cheerleaders and coaches and people, because everything that they say, it's like I feel it in my soul that they see exactly who we all are and they root for us harder than anyone else. And it is so amazing to have them in my court and in our court. And I get that from the other students too, because my trios have been so uplifting and so deep. And I just have to share, this past weekend, we were dealing with our purpose and our gifts. And I had some amazing awakening moments that I really was kind of blown away by. I had realized in going through this with my trio group that I had this limiting narrative that if I wasn't serving all the time, if I wasn't basically at like Mother Teresa's level every single moment of every single day, giving everything I had, even if I was on 0% gas in the tank, that anything short of that was a failure, that anything short of that was not making the most out of my life and point of being here on this earth. And furthermore, I had been judging my gifts and my talents of art and expression and acting and writing as being very less than. And I was ashamed that that was the resonance in my heart. And I was blown away when I had those realizations, because it came out of left field. And it was like this moment where I realized I had no idea that I had put that huge ball and chain around myself. And it was like this moment where I got to experience in class with my trios and letting that ball and chain just go and releasing myself from that and healing that and forgiving that I ever thought that exactly how I was made and exactly who I am was anything less than perfect and anything less than exactly who I'm meant to be. So since that weekend, I feel like a different person. And I feel like I have integrated not only nighttime intentions, but morning intentions. And I am talking to myself in a loving and nurturing way, because I so appreciate that from my trio partners and from Ron and Mary, but I need to do that for myself too. And it has been a huge learning for me and a huge, amazing addition to my life to be able to use that in my day-to-day life and my relationship with myself and my authentic self and my little Skylar. And this is just amazing. So anyone that is considering doing USM, this is hell yeah, you definitely should. I think that I did a weekend in person and I'm now in the Zoom year one. And I have to say that I find that the Zoom is actually the most amazing use of Zoom ever. It is, frankly, Zoom should probably sponsor USM, because I can't see another way that like USM, that Zoom works other than how USM uses it, because the breakout rooms and the trios are so sacred and so distraction free. It is absolutely brilliant. And I get to see all of these people from all over the world, and it's amazing. And so please do it. I think that you can email and reach out to Eliza and she'll help you out. And I just want to say thank you to Ron, Mary, Eliza, everyone on the USM staff and everyone that's in my USM class. And I just, it's a gift. So I hope that you receive it, and have a wonderful night. And thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Skylar. Thank you. Thank you. Mina.
Hello, Nina is here.
Hi.
How are you? So I'm taking USM. I'm a current student right now. So my question is related to how can I communicate better with my body? And what I mean by that, because I'm taking USM, I'm trying to be conscious of what is happening outside of me and inside of me with feelings, but I'm also paying attention to the body and how it feels if the certain situation takes place. And I've noticed that my left shoulder constantly, like feels like that. And even if I'm reading, I'm like, just, inhale, exhale, relax. And then I see that the shoulder is always tight. And I'm like, okay, relax. And then I just noticed that it's constantly there. So maybe there's a book you can recommend or anything that I can just communicate with my body, because I'm trying to ask it, what is the reason behind this?
Well, I encourage a little different approach. It's in the direction, and that would be to give your left shoulder a voice, and to establish that communication. It's like to communicate with your left shoulder in a loving way. It's like, I'm aware of you and I love you, and I'm aware that very often you're raised, and so I'm wondering if you have a message for me, and I'm here for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so interesting, because that is a simple tool, but it can be used with so many bodily conditions, with a headache, with an upset stomach, with a backache, because very often we store emotions in various parts of the body. And by being willing to give the upset stomach or the headache or the raised shoulder or the pain in the neck a voice, it's amazing the information that will come forward.
Would you do it in meditation, or whenever I notice that it's raised?
Well, I would do it when it's present.
Okay, got it. Thank you so
I
much.
actually encourage you to write it out. Write it out. Beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
Jennifer.
Which one?
Jennifer Lipp.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
I guess. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. You guys remember me? I graduated 2011.
Yes.
Yeah. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in years, so this is very exciting. Well, so my question is, last year I was a teacher. I was teaching 6th grade, and a big part of that was examining the curriculum that we were teaching. And the teachers worked very closely with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusive Committee on examining the curriculum and seeing how can we make it less Eurocentric, more inclusive. And so that was a big, big part of my consciousness in the previous year. This year, I currently left teaching, and I'm now, I went back to graduate school to be a mental health counselor with expressive arts therapies. And one of my classes is on power, privilege, and oppression. And once again, bringing up the theme of, essentially talking about white supremacy is a big part of the dialogue. And, so it's so much a part of my awareness and thinking these days. And I'm having a hard time reconciling that with like how to frame that within spirituality. And part of that is I feel that, I think that, I have so many feelings with regard to this issue, right? One of those, I feel that there's a lot of guilt that comes up for me. And I feel that on some level, it's a healthy guilt, that I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And then on the other hand, I feel sometimes that it's not really constructive and that it's not actually helping anyone or anything. And so, and earlier I heard you both when talking about Afghanistan and talking about the people of Afghanistan and saying that it's part of their spiritual curriculum, right? That they're going through this, there's a reason. And it's hard for me to say, well, I don't know how to reconcile this idea that, people of color in this country are, this is their spiritual curriculum to go through that. And I feel in saying that, for me personally, it feels like a little bit of a cop-out to say that, like, I feel almost like I'm letting myself off the hook on some level to say that.
I think to just say that and end there is really rather superficial. Because these things are much deeper than that. And they're much deeper for the individuals that are involved. It's like you're having your own experience with it, first as a teacher and educator, and now as a student. And so what is the purpose? If we step back for a moment and we can consider what's happening on the planet at this time, what's happening at this country in this time, there's an incredible opportunity present for really recognizing all people as divine beings having a human experience, for recognizing all people as souls, for recognizing that all people come to the planet with spiritual curriculum. So they come, and spiritual curriculum includes not only the issues that we come to heal and learn through, but also includes the gifts that we come to share. And my sense is that this, let's just call it the surfacing of all of this concern, attention at this time, is really a very wholesome thing, despite it's very painful. And for a lot of people, it brings forward a great deal of judgment, a great deal of what's right and what's wrong, etc. And so to me, to look at all of this through soul-centered eyes is extremely helpful, because then you're much less likely to get caught in the againstness. In the Soul-Centered Living One program page, there's a little segment in there that we added last year having to do with spiritual activism. Spiritual activism. And I feel that's a very, very important perspective. I don't know if there's any way to bring that up so that we could utilize it's not very long. I'd love to be able to just share it here, because I think it's helpful as a frame of reference. Lenore, is there any way you can bring that up? Or Mike?
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat, but
Yeah.
can I see it?
Mike?
Yeah, there it is. So it's not very long.
Can they all see this now?
Yes. Can everyone see it, or just me?
Just you currently. You want me to post
But let me start with the second paragraph. As this transformational process, in other words, the process of awakening and healing and the revelation of the authentic self occurs over time, students become increasingly aware of the gifts and the deep yearning to be of service, to use their God-given gifts and lives in ways that serve the greater awakening taking place on the planet at this time. They experience themselves hearing and answering the call to make a meaningful difference, contributing to real solutions to the urgent needs and challenges that face humanity. Our world has been destabilized by a global pandemic, economic and political uncertainty, as well as fire, flood, thirst, hunger, reflecting the dire need for the evolution of consciousness and the yet-to-be-birthed solutions to meet these needs. As such, many are experiencing the call to activism. The call in so many hearts at this time is, how can I make a difference? At USM, we recognize the answer is activism, not based in shame, blame, judgment, againstness, right-making and wrong-making, separation or violence. Real solutions do not emerge from the self-righteousness of the ego. Rather, they emerge from sacred activism based on knowing that growth in consciousness is the vehicle for activation of the active ingredient essential to make a positive difference. This active ingredient essential to healing, transformation, and real change is loving, and loving's eternal flow, activating hearts in healing, serving, and sharing. USM's programs have been designed and curated with this intention in mind and heart. At USM, we acknowledge that consciousness is fundamental, and as spiritual psychology principle states, outer experience is a reflection of inner reality. The next steps of human agency exercising choice and intentionality in co-creating a new earth include healing through learning and continuing to do the work in consciousness necessary to cleanse the lens of perception. This work is done by recognizing that it's an inkblot world and engaging in the difficult yet required work of accepting responsibility for the disturbance within our own consciousness that we project onto others and the world. This includes healing hurts, misunderstandings, and misidentifications that support the ego story of justified outrage, victimization, separation. It means dismantling guilt, blame, and shame. We heal through applying loving to the places inside where these patterns reside and forgiving ourselves for our judgments and our misunderstandings. As John Lennon said, living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. We say, change your lens, change your life, change your world. At USM, change begins within. Sacred activism is recognized and honored as a path with heart, a path of the spiritual warrior. We provide experiential education and tools for life that facilitate real and enduring transformation and change and equip graduates to make meaningful contributions in their world.
That's pretty clear.
Well, and I hope this speaks to some of what you're raising, Jennifer. To us, this is extremely important. And part of what I love, it's like as people become clearer within their own consciousness about their own curriculum, about the issues that they came to heal and to learn through, very often they may find that they are called to a path of service that is directly related to that which they experienced. It's where they feel called to serve and to help with healing and lifting others, and at this time on the planet, it's like the first law of spirit is acceptance, accepting what is. But then the second law of spirit is cooperation. It's like, how can I use my gifts and service in collaboration, in partnership with others in such a way that we can transform man's inhumanity to man. And of course, the work begins first and foremost with ourselves, that we release the prejudice, that we release the misidentification of ourselves as somehow superior or better than, or we release the misidentification that we're less than.
Yeah, thank you. It's just, I'll just wrap up with just saying that there's, as I'm sure there's so much, it's interesting after having gone through the program and internalizing so much of what you both taught me about, particularly instead of being against something, what are you for? What are you adding to the world, right? And that's always stuck with me. And I'm just so aware of how much I feel like people want to fight for good in the world, but they do it from a place of againstness. And I see that everywhere, and it's shocking. It's amazing. And I if I get caught up in that, I'm aware of it. For the most part, I try to be, and I have to remind myself, no, what am I for? What do I stand for? What is good in this world? What can I add to that? And it's very easy to get sucked down the path of, I'm fighting against this, you're wrong. It's very self-righteous. And I feel that it's almost just as bad. I don't want to say bad, but it's almost, here I go. Yeah. But yeah, it's just adding a negative energy, it's just a cycle. And so, Yeah.
And I so appreciate what you're sharing, and I really do understand what you're saying. It's very easy to get caught up in that and to feel very justified. But the challenge with it is it does add to the sum total of negativity, and it does add to the sum total of againstness, and it does perpetuate the illusion of separation. And this is where it's so helpful to know that there's nothing more powerful than the power of love, and that you, as the presence of love, can be a voice of wisdom, a voice of compassion, a voice of action, but action in service to rather than action against. So I acknowledge you, and I encourage you, Jennifer, keep going.
Okay.
Going.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your sharing. Thank you. All right. Well, let's see. Who else do we have here? Jennifer Hallett. Let's hear from both Jennifers.
Hi, Mary and John. Sorry, Paul. Ron. Courage is coming up right now. And my life's been extraordinary. And what I'm dealing with right now are symptoms, not a diagnosis or anything else. And I want to make, I'm here for a reason. The soul is calling it now. So I'm writing a book about my experiences that many have been judged, and it'll help some children. I'm coming out. I was transgender. I was transgendered at an early age back in the 50s. Attempted suicide at 6. And I've been living stealth up until now. And people didn't know. I was the youngest person to ever have gender reassignment surgery at Stanford. And joined a sorority, did all the things, and lived but I heard everything that was being said, unlike African Americans or other people, that you can see it. People didn't know. And I think that's the purpose of my soul. My parents, before they passed, said, you were given this gift by God because you could help others. And I really feel that that's something. I mean, I can't believe I just did this over the air, but it's going to happen sooner or later, because that's the courage of the soul and the loving of other souls and myself. And so I'm dealing with what I found with USM, and I'm looking at those classes, is that it manifests the spirit through the material world. And that's where my challenges have been with what they called inattentive ADD, is taking those steps forward to bring the spirit in through the physical. But I am writing the book. I've been doing it, doing the photographs. And unfortunately, because of the mold situation, I had to throw away all my Horace papers, books, everything else. And any suggestion, I know just sharing this in the light will help. And it's honoring myself and my experiences and all those. There's such againstness against these group of people, are a group of people that isn't really addressed in so many ways. There's such a secret from what I
Yes.
present.
I first of all, I acknowledge you, and I acknowledge your incredibly courageous path and your courageous sharing this evening, Jennifer. You know, and what's coming to me is actually very practical guidance for you. My guidance is that you get a really good agent. You get a really good agent who can help with placing this book with a publisher, so that you will have adequate resources and support to assist you in bringing this through.
And I'm open to any suggestions. I have a 1% on my iPad, so I'm trying to do this with my, can you see me on my other?
Yes. We can see you. We see you and we hear you.
Like right now, that's, yes, okay, thank you. So yeah, any light for that?
So my guidance is very practical.
Get an agent.
Very practical that you get a really good agent, that they help shop the book, that they shop the book for you, so that you will have the support necessary in order to complete this with as much grace as possible. And to the degree that you're called to do so, which I believe you are, I do encourage you to write this from within the spiritual context
Yes.
of the opportunities, of the learnings, of the blessings, of the challengings, and of the healing and the learning.
And that's what it is. It's the soul. And it would be touring and speaking to groups of people and supporting parents whose children, that's my family, my parents supported me, but my siblings didn't. So I'm used to againstness, but I still love them. And I know what to expect. So it's just the courage to do it. And I will, it's very practical. I will get the agent to contact the people. And it's the help, I've had some near-death experiences from the suicide attempts and the different things that have happened. So I know in the bottom of my heart what
yes.
the truth
Yes.
is. And spiritual activism is truly what it is.
Yes.
It's for souls. And there is no doubt whatsoever in my being. This never once I regretted my decision. You know, when I started hormones at 12 and when they admitted me and I traveled cross country by myself to do it and had to never look back on, had to say goodbye to everybody. And, it was, it can be easier now. It can be easier.
Yes, yes. It's more, there's a more open conversation that's happening now. And so there's a place for your voice, for your book.
I'm the oldest one that was the youngest one. So now it's like, whatever comes at me, it's going to be fine, you know. And I see it as positive too, because it's information doesn't change who I am. Information about me doesn't change me, but it reflects a person's mindset, whether they're going to judge and not like, or they're going to love and accept. So it doesn't say anything about me. It just says something about the other person. And that was key for me. I had shame because I was the only one back then, you know, the only one that was the youngest. They took me, and that's what, letting go of the shame.
Yes.
And the hurt.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it sounds like you're very aware that the telling of your story and the writing of this book in a very real way is an opportunity for you to experience another level of healing and moving to another level of the wholeness and holiness within you, Jennifer.
The authenticity of my soul.
Yes.
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 God gave me this, and I'm very grateful.
Yes.
Didn't like it, but I'm grateful. And it wasn't easy. But like you said, Ron, it was the hardest sometimes are the most learning and the most. So it's not a reform school, it's a finishing school. That's the way I.
Well, you know, it's so interesting because when we first started doing USM so many years ago, there was part of me that always had this idea that I would have something called Mary's Finishing School. and not in the traditional sense of the finishing school where you're taught etiquette and things of that nature, and social proprieties. Nothing against any of that, but it would be a process that would be designed to help young women resolve their issues and provide them with tools and provide them with a sense of their beauty and their worth and their value, and that would provide them with a sense of purpose and meaning. And, you know, it's interesting. I was talking with someone about this recently. I think I was talking with Ron, and he said to me, Mary, you did it. You did it. It wasn't called that, but indeed the process was that.
That's very true. I took your class in '89 and audited it in 2012, and it's built upon that. And it's the best education I've ever had. So thank you.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Yes.
Just one more, Ron.
Yeah, do Roy.
Yeah, Roy.
Roy.
Hi.
Oops. Sorry. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
I just my wife and I met 33 years ago in Insight. And then I did Insight 1 through leadership in 1 year. And then we got married. We met, got engaged, and got married within the framework of the leadership seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And then both of us went into USM first year. And I have had very hurt feelings about the first year of USM because I felt like I failed at it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized tonight is that I had made such huge leaps in that year leading up that I was in process of integrating those changes. And so a lot of USM was sort of bouncing off because I was so, so much in the process of integrating the changes I had just made and was making. And thank you for that. And I went into that first Insight seminar with one thing that I think I want to share because I think it's a useful tool for anybody doing this work. There came a point where I was afraid to share something. Mm. And I made a choice. I decided to let my fear be my guide. Mm. And that was where, if I was afraid to share it, that meant that's what I needed to share the most. Mm-hmm. And that was my guide through that year of Insight. And tonight has sort of refreshed that in me. And I thank you for that. I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you so much. It's lovely to see you, Roy. It's lovely to hear from you. And hopefully you're acknowledging that just helps you let go, that there was no failure, that it was all perfect. It was a safe and sacred space in which you could integrate the tremendous amount of growth and change that you had done. And I also appreciate what you just shared about the courage to share, because there have been some very courageous sharings here this evening, including your own. And there is a level of vulnerability in sharing And yet, I do believe that USM is known as a safe and sacred space in which people can share their truth. They can share their experience. They can share all manner of inner experiences, emotions, and also the beauty and majesty of the soul as it comes present.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Well, it's 8 o'clock.
How could that
Time
be?
has passed so quickly. We want to take just a few moments here as we come to completion of the evening to once again ask for the light of the Holy Spirit to surround, protect, fill, guide, bless, and direct each one of us. We ask for the